Hello everyone and welcome to Vindaria. This is a new CMP, a creative multiplayer server where I and a bunch of other incredible creators will all be playing in creative, building some really awesome things. CalvenMC in the background, Jaren and Rubik's Potato are on the server currently, but we all have ourselves some regions, and I myself am planning on turning my region into a custom biome. It's gonna have a bunch of really cool elements that I'm super excited about to share with all of y'all because I've been working on this design for a while. If you all want to introduce yourselves, starting with Jaren over here on the left, does not have a microphone tonight, so we'll just be messaging in chat if you want to say hi. Hello, I'm Jaren. I gave you a voice tonight. CalvenMC.
Hello everyone. My name is Calvin and I plan to also make a custom biome. I'm not gonna be revealing everything just yet, but let's say that I'm going to go for the cathedral theme merged with some nature elements and of course a lot of lore.
A lot of lore.
Yeah.
We are all here for the lore. Rubik's Potato, what you got?
Yes, hello. I'm the Buildstone Wizard, not too good at building, so I'll probably be taking a lot of tips. My theme, well, it'll be musical. I'll tell you that much.
Anything anyone want to share?
Trees are the best.
They are. That's actually one of the things I'm going to be focused on in my area is a whole lot of custom trees. You are free to explore and to go and have fun. The start of all SMP, CMPs. There Rubik's Potato goes just flying off.
As Sheikh just said, welcome everyone to Vindaria CMP. Yes, not an SMP, a CMP, a creative multiplayer people. Yeah, I don't know what the P stands for. But we are in creative, which if you've been around my channel or my streams, you know that this is what I like to do. And doing it with other amazing creators such as Sheikh and others that are yet to be revealed is so great. So first things first, we need to find our area, our region where we are going to be building. This is episode 1. We are going to have a series here where we are going to be making a really nice mix between different things that we are used to. I want to keep some things secret, not only because, I want to build some hype around the things that we are going to be building, but also because I haven't figured out everything yet. And okay, I think, yeah, here we are. This is going to be our area. You can see if we fly into it, it says, there we go, Calven's region. People are falling down. Here's the thing. This is going to be my region, but let me show you this. If I leave my area and I go into the wilderness, it turns me into survival, and that's why people fall and die. We are not gonna be keeping the jungle, and we are not gonna be keeping the dark oak. We are going to make a fully custom biome. So the first step, clearly, if you're going to turn this biome into something different, is to clean all the vanilla mess. So in Axiom, over here on the script brush, if we choose the clear foliage option, we can very easily get rid of most of the trees. Alrighty. Wilderness, no, that's a limit. I can see that that's going to happen many times. So what I want to do is I want to kind of mark out the limits of my region, and I think I'm going to do that probably with the path tool. That's going to be better. And we're going to make a very thick line. So if we cross this line, we should be turned to wilderness. Perfect. There are many boring parts when starting a creative project, especially in this scale, but anything that involves planning and laying out things, even if it's boring, it tends to be very important. So this is going to be our area. You can see the boundaries now more clearly, pretty large, but we are used to building larger than this. So I think I actually feel like it's a bit small. I would go crazier, but I want to include a lot of details and a lot of story in it. So I think it's good to start with a small area. And if we feel like we really need to expand and go crazier, we can go crazier. Because one of my main goals is to go very tall in both directions, both up and down. Look, we have pandas. You are going to that. And just to show you, just to have a little sneak peek of what we are going to do, we're gonna paint all this biome with this color. I hope it all comes together as I imagine it, because if it does, it's going to be great. Oh,
Let's see.
I was inside
Oh, we got
your
another
face.
diamond user. Let's
Diamond
go.
mounting.
Oh, nice. I like your border that you gave yourself. Okay, so you flat worlded it first.
Yeah.
And then you came back and you are now building a enormous hole to the ends of the earth. All the way to bedrock. Yeah, this is bedrock down here.
Yeah, now I'm kinda building up a little bit because I don't want it to go that far down maybe. I don't know. I still haven't decided. But the idea would be to make this kinda mountain range all around. I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but we'll see.
No, this is awesome though.
It's always very fun and relaxing to watch terraforming time lapses come together. But now I want to walk you through some of the steps that I took to do these mountings that in my opinion looks a bit realistic. Of course, they are diamond blocks, we still need to paint these and do all the fancy stuff to actually make them look like mountains. But there are quite a few techniques that I've been learning from one of my friends, Deep Sky Miner. He's very good at this and he's always trying new stuff and he's very kind to teach me and share with me all the new techniques that he finds. And probably what I'm about to show you is one of the best ways of terraforming if you are looking to achieve a large, realistic looking mountain. I think I'm gonna reveal the name of the area by the end of this episode. We'll get to that later on. Now let me explain to you the terraforming technique that I've been using. I start with a basic shape, like a cylinder. The maximum radius is 64, but if we control click, we can make this larger. I'm using it to kinda set up a bit of a shape for where I want my mountains to be, while at the same time covering the caves so that we don't have random holes everywhere. I'm not putting too much thought into this, if I'm honest with you. Okay, so now we have some kinda basic layout for this area. The next tool that we're gonna be using, and this is the main one, is the elevation tool. Of course, for making terrain, the elevation tool is one of the most powerful. So what I'm gonna be using is the raise option on the elevation, which is the default one. And over here you can click on load height map. All these things so far I have shown in the past on how to do terrain, how to load the height maps, on the different tutorials that I've been doing about Axiom through the years. So if you really need help on how exactly this tool works, I recommend you go watch those. But here today I want to focus on those special settings and how you can use them to get a more realistic looking mountain like the ones we got here. One of the main things that you can do is to choose the different fall-offs. If you want something more spiky or if you want something more large. But you can see that this gives a result that is sort of very smooth. And terrain in real life not always is this smooth. With this tool, by reducing the smoothing, as I found out, around 0.3 and 0.4 tends to give a really nice result. And then you can come with this and start raising the terrain, and you can see how this begins to give, of course, a more noisy. The maximum radius that you can choose is 32, but of course for this scale this is not enough. So you can control click here and put something larger like 120 to cover the entire area. That's maybe a bit too much, but because we have this fall off, I think that's gonna be great. So now we can raise the entire thing like that. If you don't like it, you can undo. In this case, I think maybe I'm gonna do with this fall off and I'm gonna do an 81. And we can begin raising some of these terrains. We have some areas like this one where it's looking very weird. So what we can do is we can do the flatten down option. And we can come to some of these spots and flatten down some of these mountains in different areas. Then you can do the flatten up instead and choose different spots to raise up the terrain, especially when you have like large flat walls. You can see how it starts to take a better shape. I actually really like this one, but if you want to still bring like this sort of like spikiness, then what we need to do with this is, of course, go again with the rising option, reduce the smoothing, choose one of these ones, and go to the places where you want these mountings. Maybe in this case I'm gonna go for a radius of 64, and click these places to make sure that these parts are very raised. Same for this one. And basically iterating through that, you can get these really nice shagged looking mountings. I don't know how these are called, but adding these things that go around is very cool. Adding smaller ones over here at the end of this. You can also add them on the outside, why not? It's a process that takes time, but is it worth it? I think so. And that's basically it. Those are all the tools and methods that I'm using for terraforming. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to finish this area and all this with the same technique, trying to make sure that there are mountings all around, and then we'll come back to do some of the painting that needs to be done. So let's go, let's do that in another time lapse. So we have the mountains done. As you can see, I think this is looking fantastic. We fully completed all the crater from all the sides. When you come walking through here, you still don't see the crater, and the moment that you hop over the edge, it really opens up and it has a really nice open view. Okay, so now it's time to paint this. And for that, I prepared a color palette somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. The new pigs! Oh, we have the new version. I didn't realize. So here is sort of the color palette that I'm gonna be trying out. This is a very basic one, going from black stone to mud, to pale, deep slate, pale again, acacia, tuff, and stone. This palette from here up to here-ish, I've used many times for mountings. The continuation here where it goes to mossy cobblestone all the way to terracotta, that's an idea that we're going to be trying. And also the change here from muddy mangrove all the way to the browns, that is also something that I want to try. But before applying that palette, what we need to do is to color code this mountain. For that we need to use a tool mask, and over here what we want to do is grab an AND logic, bring the polished tuff over here, and we are going to be using an angle mask. Change this to 90, the range to something around 40 maybe, and that way we are going to be painting the flat surfaces, which is where we are going to be wanting to add all the grass basically. Now I'm going to be doing another tool mask targeting the same block, but I want to target the blocks that have lime wool above them. And we are going to be painting with a noise painter, and we're going to be choosing the brown wool. And I'm gonna go for splatter. Let's do an 80%. And what this is going to do is going to add random patches of brown underneath the lime wool that we just added. And then we change the green, and let's do a near on brown wool with a radius of 1. So now in those spots where we had that, we're going to be adding so much more brown. Then we can maybe reduce the amount, randomize the seed, and do one more go through. If you want, you can do one more. So we have one last one that is very scattered around. Something that I like about having changed this biome to savanna is that we don't get rain. You can see that this is starting to look nicer. This one can go back to being just tough. The decision is yours. You can see how it starts to make some paths, right? Because you start to know, okay, maybe I could go through here, maybe they can loop around, go back down, come down here, go through there, go down, loop around, down. You have many different paths and ways once you do this that came naturally from the designing of the mountain. Before applying the palette now, what we are going to do is we are going to do the magic select. We are going to increase the limit, surface only. That way we select all the tuff of the mountain. What I'm going to do, I have the show selection, keybinded to Ctrl-T, so if I press here, the selection is gonna remain there, but now it's hidden, so we can see what we are doing. Because we have a bunch of cracks and stuff, What I like to do to quickly paint those with shadows and maybe have some lights on the edges is to use the auto shade operation. The auto shade operation is very cool. So we are going to go to custom palette, and here we are going to choose our shadow block. And we are going to be color coding this. We are going to choose black wool as our shadow block, gray wool as our mid shadow, light gray, which is going to be like the main color of the stone, and white for the highlights. I go kinda crazy with the percentage of shadow because it doesn't add a lot of shadow when you do auto shade. And I'm going to choose a custom position in the center, and then I'm gonna click auto shade. Alright, so we can see, even with a small percentage of white, you can see how this adds a lot of white. I'm gonna reduce this to 5, and I'm gonna add 1 over here. 2 light positions. We have some lights, we have some shadows. This is what I care the most, to have shadows in these cracks mostly. So now we have our mountains color coded. If there are spots where you would like to change things, this is the moment to go here and be like, okay, yeah, no, maybe I want some highlights in this edge. You can come there and do that. Or maybe I don't want lights here at the base. Just come here and paint those. Auto shade is always a good start, but coming back and doing the changes by hand where you see fit, most of the times is a good idea. So don't be afraid of changing. So once we have all this color coded with the shadows, with the lights, with the grass, with the dirt, and everything else that you want, I wouldn't go much more crazier than this if I'm honest with you. We are gonna go here to the palette that we chose, and I'm going to be grabbing all the wool colors that we've been using, and we are going to link each color to what it needs to be. So I'm going to be saying that white is probably going to be all the way up to there. Gray is going to be all the way up to here. Light gray is going to be this. And black is going to be that. Of course, the brown is going to be this one, all this palette. And the green we are going to try with this. And if these 3 don't work, we are going to just go with grass. How we are going to apply that? We are going to go here to the menu. We are going to do tool mask. We are going to start with the black wool. And here on the noise painter, we are going to add the 3 blocks that we need. The black stone, the mud, and the muddy mangrove. Also, I'm going to go all the way to the first block of the next wool color. But this one I'm going to make it very small, just a 5%. And for the noise pattern over here, I'm going to be choosing Metaball because I like it. And we're going to increase the scale to something around 16. And this would give a very smooth result. What I like to do here is increase the octaves so we get a more noisy pattern. And if we want it even noisier, we can increase the linearity. Also, I do like to make it a bit larger on the vertical than on the horizontals. Once we got the noise pattern and the tool mask set, we just go and right click all over. We go back to our palette. Instead of black wool, we are going to go painting the gray wool, and we are going to be choosing the colors. And we don't change the noise pattern, we still use the same one. Make sure to not touch the randomized seed or the pattern here. So now, with the other wool set, paint all over the gray wool. And then we repeat. With the light gray targeted, we go around and we paint. It still preserves the lighting, but it's way more subtle, it's not so strong. And we only need to repeat now for the last color, which is the white. And we paint. And these highlights that were very strong, now they are way more subtle. Okay, so that would be the painting of the stone. We need to paint the brown wool with these colors. In this case, we are just gonna do noise. Let's do a simplex for this one. The last thing we are missing to change is the green, not the green, the lime. The easiest one would be to just paint this with grass. So let's try that first, see how that looks. It also makes it easier to smooth it out with the rest of the world. So I'm very likely to be leaning towards this one. And you know what? I think it looks really, really good. Now, just to try, let's see what it does. Well, this is making it look more like a mushroom island type of thing. It's not bad, I don't dislike it, it's more unique, but it's not. It's not what I had in mind. So if we want, the cool thing about painting with grass as well is that we can go to the biome painter and we can choose badlands, like wooded badlands is very cool. And we can paint here, the bottom of this. It makes it look more shadowed, and honestly, I like that. There we go, that's really nice. You can see how standing here, it kind of tricks your brain and makes you think that there's like a light here in there. If this was only terrain and we added some vegetation all over this place, it would look amazing. But since we are going to be adding more stuff, adding vegetation now is not a good idea, because then it gets super annoying to build the rest. So we are not going to be adding vegetation, but here, adding for instance the firefly bushes all around, it would fit so well with the color that we are going. For a base terrain to begin working on our area, I really like this. And that's going to be everything for my first episode on the Vindaria CMP. I wanted to focus this one around terraforming because it's a huge part of every project that I don't always get to show or explain. Now before leaving, I have to reveal the name of our area, and I want to leave you with one question. The name is Belen and the Sorrowing Tree. Yes, that has some spoilers in it. We will be building a big tree as the central piece of this area. And the question that I have for you, with the very little information that you have about this right now, what comes to your mind when you see this area or when you hear that name? On that note though, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new today. This has been Calvin, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.